What up? What up? What up? It's Ibn Webb, Ib Webb, Quran Assam. Got another official thanks thing going down here. Doing another Essex County all day edition here. Got my high school coach, head coach, Coach Fess here. Mike Fess to those, that know him on a first name basis here, but I know him as Coach Fess. I just remember as I was getting ready to just sit on here, just try to just think back a little bit. Just it's a long, long time ago, but just all the people that's come through those hallways, the teams that he's coached, he's moved on to other teams as well, West Orange and Caldwell as well. But I know obviously Immaculate means a lot to him, being his alma mater, what have you. There, also a good athlete too, on some state championship teams. I believe he played in college. So I'm curious to find out as far as some of that stuff here. So be interested in maybe find a thing or two I didn't know about, Coach Fest besides the X's and O's and probably yelling at me for ill-advised shots. So just hold tight. Hey,
Hey man, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. On time, everything. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I have to make you run suicides or something coming on late.
Hey, you know what? Whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Get me going.
Nah, I appreciate it. Like I said, thank you again. Like I said, like it was interesting as far as I was waiting for you to jump on here. I was like, wow, I'm actually getting a little nervous to sit here to talk to Coach Fess here. So I had a little chuckle.
Not at all, man. Not at all. That's just like regular guys. How about that?
Yes. First and foremost, hopefully you and your family, everybody's safe, sound, well, and with everything going on, hopefully everybody's okay.
Yeah, you know what? We're doing well. Thank you. And I hope the same for you. How about that?
Nah. Likewise, we're good. We're good. Thank you. So I'm just gonna jump into it. Like I said, when we spoke here, like I said, it's just something cool I've been doing here, and like I said, just might learn a thing or two about you I didn't know. Whatever you willing to share here, but I'm looking forward to it.
How about that? Let's go. What do you
Yeah.
got?
Actually, where are you from?
Well, I'm an East Orange guy. I spent a lot of time over at Sarville Park and grew up in that area and great place to grow up. Just going to the bunch and you go back till about 5, 6 o'clock and you played sports. You played basketball. You played baseball. You played some football. Whatever was going on that day. It was just a great childhood, and it was good stuff. I loved it. A lot of good friends that I still keep in contact with. You have that base, the people that forever. It was just something that it just kind of keeps me grounded.
Well, I never all these years I never knew you was from East Orange.
About that.
I never do that. Now, because now you have a big family, a sibling group too, correct?
Yeah, I have 5 brothers and sisters. Again, I'm the youngest out of everybody, and kind of we were like a medium-sized family in the neighborhood. Be honest with you, there were 8 people in families. There were 6. There were 7. A small family was 2 or 3, and there was always somebody to hang out with. Always somebody to play with. You leave the house and you street and you knew everybody and you went in the park and you knew whoever was there and you knew where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew the neighborhood and it was just a kind of a real good spot to grow up. And my father was an East Orange fireman. My brother was an East Orange fireman.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school at Holy Name in East Orange for a number of years, and just again, it's a good spot, it was, and again, kind of shapes where you're from. It kind of shapes the foundation of who you are later in life.
Absolutely. What was your first love as far as sports to play?
Well, I was always a basketball guy. We played everything, and baseball was big in East Orange. Fred Hill was one of my coaches as a kid. He's a famous Rutgers, passed away a year or so ago, but Fred Hill was my little league coach and baseball. So you knew the game, and whatever you played at that particular time, you loved it. But basketball was my family's passion, and my brothers were pretty good players. My father was a player. He didn't get to go to school in high school, but he played for local teams, park teams around in East Orange, and he loved it, and he passed that down to me. I remember going to games as a young, God, third, fourth grade, going to Immaculate games. My brothers were pretty good players, and sitting up in the Immaculate gym saying, "I'm going to play here someday," and it was a super experience. Mr. Dyer was one of the players on my brother's team,
Yeah.
and he was the 5'10" power forward. Um, but but it was just, it was a great experience. One of my first memories was my Christmas gifts was getting an ABA basketball, probably in about fourth grade, and that was a great gift for me. You're taking it to the park, and hopefully you don't lose it, but you play it and use it until you wore it out.
Yeah, that's the red, white, and blue ball, correct?
Absolutely, Dr. J days and George McGinnis and all the old timers for sure.
Yeah, so you play rec ball, you go to Holy Name. You guys, obviously, I know there was. Did you play a Holy Name too? Did they had the Catholic League back then too?
Holy Name had a great program. I just have to add that one of my coaches in sixth and seventh grade was Brian Hill, Freddie Hill's brother. Now Brian Hill was the eventually became a coach in the NBA. He coached Shaquille O'Neal and the Orlando Magic,
Yeah,
and they're giving us things that you'll never forget. Like Freddie Hill with baseball. I couldn't hit a curveball, but I know the game.
yeah.
Basketball, he told me things, Brian Hill, that stay with me till this day. And we learn things as a young man, and you learn the passion for the game and just the finer points of it. And we eventually played at Holy Name, and Holy Name played a lot of games. And as a sixth, seventh, eighth grader, we played 54 games, I think, as an eighth grader. And
Wow.
we play the local team. We'd go and we'd go to St. John's in Orange and we'd go play a Lady of the Valley. We'd go down to Newark on Sundays and play at St. Benedict's and Vernon L. Davy from East Orange, and you play Queen of Angels, a Newark team, and you got exposed. It wasn't like you're in your neighborhood and you're the best. You went and played
Yeah.
better players, and you learned, hey, I got to get better. And sometimes you got beat up, and that was life. That's the way it was. But
Mhm.
it was a super experience, and we played a lot, and that was that was one of the things that was a social experience. We didn't have video games, and you didn't have the internet. Your social experience was either playing a baseball game or touch football game or a tackle football game, challenging kids from Bloomfield or challenging different neighborhoods, or go to a different park and play basketball. That's what we did. It wasn't, the social part of it. That's what you did, and that's how you met people. And again, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Nah, I could definitely relate just being out playing all day. And, your parents knew you were safe because you was with a group of people that you played ball with. I could definitely totally relate. Now, there was no question in mind that Immaculate was the only high school you was going to go to, being your brothers and sisters went there.
Well, we had some players in our neighborhoods, and everybody kind of went to different schools. Again, you go to a Catholic grammar school, you went to a Catholic high school, and my brothers had gone. Um, and for me, it was Immaculate was the place. My older brother had gone to the Valley, and he played football there because Immaculate stopped football for a couple of years. So he was a pretty good basketball player at the Lady of the Valley, and that, of course, for us was always a point of contention because that was a rival for a long time. But for me and a lot of my buddies from our school, we went up good players and went up to Immaculate and played. And,
Mhm.
and and there was no question. It was the spot. It was kind of home. You knew that when I went there. I knew that when I went there as a young man, just watching the game and just say, this is where I want to go and this is where I want to play.
Mhm. So you get to Immaculate, and do you just like a lot of Immaculate student athletes, you automatically playing three sports, throughout the year, or is it just solely basketball? Or
We ended up going. I ended up going and playing three sports. Football was something I had done a little bit, and East Orange for me didn't have a program, so I ended up going to the Bloomfield PAL, traveling over, and we had played. I'd played some football, so we said I'm going to go to Immaculate and play football. It's a great game, and of course basketball was something that we did in the summer league, and we were ready for that also. And I was a baseball guy. I was a Freddie Hill guy, and let's do all three. And that's what it's what you did back then. And of course, again, most people did, and a lot of the players in my grade, I had a super class of athletes,
Mhm.
and everybody played at least two sports, maybe three, and there was no question about that.
What position did you play in football?
Well, yeah, I always tell the kids, and when I'm coaching, I always tell my kids on my team, I said, now I was a lineman, and unfortunately, I thought I was an athlete, and I had some skills, and I thought I was pretty good. And we went up to the high school, and you were told where to go, and I was want to say, I want to be a tight end. I can catch the ball, I could run, I'm a basketball guy, I can do all that, and I was kind of a little bit bigger, so you go with the lineman, and a lot of the Immaculate Grammar School kids end up going to the skill positions.
Oh,
So again, and I didn't complain. Back then, you didn't complain. Whatever the coaches did or said, that you followed directions,
yeah.
and that's what I did. And I tell my kids now, and my high school kids that I coach, I say, I love kids who play multiple sports. We love the fact that you're playing different sports. But I was a football guy, and I was a skinny pulling guard. I played guard for 4 years. I was 100 and probably 170 pounds on a good day as a senior. But I got changed uniforms. And I became a point guard. So I tell the kids I was a skinny pulling guard and a fat point guard, because I just kind of I did a little bit of both, and you did what you had to do.
Yeah. And you were there at great times as far as those Immaculate teams just being, perennial state contenders on some couple of times, whether depending on the sport, were state champs as well too. So that had to be just fun times.
Yeah, the program was good. Like I said, we had kids and parochial schools at that time. Parish schools were thriving. Lady of the Valley was doing real well in Essex County. Essex Catholic was great. Of course, Seton Hall is good now, was still good back then. And Immaculate, we were there. We were with them, and we had kids who could play. And again, multiple sport kids. And again, for me, I took the skills as a basketball guy, and I transferred them to football. And I said, what can I do and learn in basketball? I can use my speed, I use my footwork, and I can use my anticipation to beat guys who are bigger than me. And that's what you did. You adjusted. And I was a freshman. Our varsity team went 9-0. They were state champs. They beat a real good Barringer team in a scrimmage with Andre Tippett, who ended up playing in the NFL, and he's a Hall of Famer. And we watched these guys, and they were big. They were good. Larry Doby was a member of the team, and Larry Doby, of course, his father was the first African American in the American League. But guys to look up to, Richie Lehman was a first team All-State at Immaculate tight end, and they all played basketball. So I got a chance to meet them, not so much football, but I suited up for some varsity, some basketball games as a freshman. You meet these guys, and they're good guys, and you get some advice from them, and they kind of trickled down. And they did well, and their expectations were there. So you kind of took that, and you say, hey, this is what I got to do too. The pressure was on a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always work out that way, but you certainly hope to exceed expectations.
Yeah. I'm not gonna let one thing I heard as you were talking. You played some varsity as a freshman basketball, huh?
A little bit. I think I would take the ball and I'd throw it up, and I'd shoot a lot, and I learned to adjust my role as a basketball player. And I wasn't the best athlete in the team, but as we went on, we had a couple of orange guys. Marcus Hackett, of course, was one of our best athletes ever come out of Immaculate. But I started to understand, hey, he's the guy to score. Give him the ball, and guys who are better shooters than me, you learn, And again, and maybe the coach's mentality in me as a young man, saying, hey, give these guys the ball. So you adjust your role. But I did play as a freshman,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit on reputation of my brothers. I tip my hat to them.
Mhm.
But again, for me, it's a good experience, and it's something that I'll remember.
Oh no, absolutely. And then I know obviously you get the reins obviously from sophomore year, junior year on here. So how was it just to win a state basketball championship? I mean, how was that?
Well, it was a long battle. I just met one of my one of the assistant coaches, John Lee, last weekend. I spoke with him and we had conversations. I coached with him. I
Mhm.
started coaching with him, but he was the JV coach, and John Hanna just took over as we were sophomores. And again, we weren't bad players, but we were young and skinny.
Yeah.
And sophomore year, he took a beating, and he took a lot of losses. And it got better junior year. But again, growing pains for me, even as a player. That's when my role was adjusting from being a freshman star, so to speak. That I thought, I got to do something. How can I affect the game without scoring? So I became more of a passer and a point guard. Um, and we put a lot of time in the summer, and we worked hard, and got to senior year, and it kind of clicked.
Mhm.
We had guys who just Marcus Hackett, again, who can play. Jerry Doherty, 1,000-point scorer, a Hall of Famer at Immaculate. Paul Pillsbury, super guard. Chris Kiernan, multi-sport athlete. Tom Lamont, who is a coach at Caldwell now, it's a good buddy of mine, multi-sport athlete, Division I football guy. It came together, and it put a lot of hours in. And I just remember after winning the game at the end, we beat some good teams. We beat St. Anthony's with Bobby Hurley. We beat a couple real talented teams,
Mhm.
um, but it just came together. And at that point in time, just all the work just kind of just paid off. And it was something, it's a little bit of a dream. Again, an eighth grade, ninth grade, or 10th grader's dream. Um, it's something that worked out. It was super. It was super.
Now who'd y'all beat in this finals?
We beat a school from Sacred Heart, Vineland. They were
Okay.
down. Uh, yes, they were down in Vineland, New Jersey. We didn't know much about them, but we
Mhm.
did have a guy named Dippy Venezia. Jack Venezia is a famous referee in town or in the county. But Dippy Venezia was our scout. It's Jackie's younger brother, and he went all over the state to watch games. And we beat Sacred Heart and Vineland, and kind of, I don't know if this is kind of bittersweet. I had some friends on the Lady of the Valleys team, but they played before us, and they beat us during the year, but they got beat. And a guy, a lot of the friends of mine who played on that team, they got beat, and we kind of like savored that a little bit because the Valley got beat. And all Immaculate guys know when the Valley guys get beat, we kind of smile a little bit, and we ended up winning. So again, it was just a great memory, from that year. Of course, after winning the football, championship also that year, that was something that we, kind of just, who the heck knew? It just all kind of came together.
Yeah, and then even with all that success, obviously you're doing well, obviously in school and just just you mentioned your brothers and your sisters being, good athletes and just good people overall. You got to make some decisions about college. You was like, you think you was going to play basketball in college? I mean, what were your thoughts back then? I mean, I don't I don't know if they were
Well,
similar to these kids these days.
for me, it was an easier decision. I was recruited a little bit, again, not at that back then. Recruited means you got a couple letters in Moravian College and play football. But
Mhm.
again, I'm 170 pounds. I bulked up, maybe from drinking a couple of beers and eating a little too much afterwards. But hey, 175 pounds I was. I might have gained 5 pounds, but a college level guard, a lineman, might have been difficult. So I decided, I spoke to the coach. I said, I want to go up there and try to play basketball. And I ended up playing 2 years of JV basketball at Moravian College. Again, for me, great experience. Um, it just you learn so much. And again, for me, it was just kind of soaking in, not being a super duper fastest guy and the best jumper around, but and knew the game. I anticipated, I knew what was going on, so it kind of got me into games. And the work ethic was something that I learned from high school. It got me through a couple of years, and then after I realized it wasn't something that was going to get me too far. Um, and I kind of just focused on just finishing school after that.
Well, you just strayed too far from it because it must have been, one door closed and something else open. These coaching aspirations. Did you know one day you would be a coach, or it was just something that just fell in your lap?
It kind of came natural, living. Be honest with you, my father knew the game. A guy who didn't play, but he knew the game. He'd constantly telling you what to do. And as a player in high school, he would go to games. He'd be loud. And it wasn't, oh, he's like cheering you and come
Mhm.
home after the game. Never be negative, but he would always have advice for you. And I found myself doing that with other players. My senior year, I ended up getting hurt for a number of games at the end of the year, and my job at that point was to be the kind of the voice of hey, the coaches. You don't want to listen to the coaches. Well, I'm going to tell you, I helped out younger guys, and I would speak to them as we're going. In the huddle, I had a little bit of voice. So I look back now and say, yeah, you know what? That's an avenue I took, and I could tell that. And even in college a little bit, I had freshman guys who were playing with me on a JV team.
Mhm.
And we spoke quite often, and I'd say, do this, you're better than that, and whatever it might be, words of advice.
Yeah.
And it's something that I kind of knew that. And when I did finish at Raven, I transferred to Montclair State. I immediately started coaching football with Joe Lennon at Bailey Ellard, and I coached at Immaculate, coached basketball there, and that's I've been coaching ever since. So that's 40, 40 some odd years later.
Yeah. And then even getting to Immaculate here, ultimately you get the head coaching gig. You remember your first game?
I do. Again, here's kind of a funny story. I talked to my friend John Lee, who I coached with for about 4 years. And again, I'm a 21-year-old guy, and I'm on the bench. Didn't know how much to say or what to say. So I just kind of sat there, and in fact, Joe Kiernan, one of my good buddies and a former coach, Joe, he
Mhm.
would call me Captain Pike, a guy from Star Trek who just wouldn't say anything, and he would just beat for once, and didn't, and he would give me a hard time about it, and I didn't. I just didn't know where to jump in, but as I was going on, I just learned that you gotta when you feel something, when you think something, say something, and I started learning that, because if you hold all these thoughts in, you got to have the confidence to say, hey, if somebody tells you that I don't agree with you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I eventually got the job, and our first game was at Chatham Borough High School, and it was against a guy named Bob Belcure. Bob Belcure was a legendary coach in West Orange at Mountain High School, and he had taken that job, and we ended up beating them. We had a great game. Kind of Brian Hill, Chris Esposito, Pat Brunner, coach from Bloomfield and Mountain Lakes AD now, Miles Holt, the Holy Cross guy. So we had good kids. We ended up winning, and he came up after the game and he kind of gave me a pat on the cheek like the Godfather, and he said, "Hey,
Yeah.
kid, good game." And I appreciated that because I looked up to him, and I was a little bit maybe in awe, a little bit like hesitant,
Mhm.
say, "Hey, this guy knows the game. How am I going to do against him?" And we go out and we beat him, and that was the first game we played at Immaculate and my first win over there.
Yeah. You just those early years here, I mean, again, I know it was you had the I mean, obviously you went to school this, so you knew, obviously the ins and outs of the school here, but just actually coaching only had those two baskets. That's
Oh, it's you know what it was something that you played there and you knew it. Again, you had two baskets and we had a little one on the side they put there. Um, and shooting practice was non-existent. You get your best shooters and you give them, like, we'd say, hey, Evan, you need to go shoot because you're one of our shooters. But the guys who were not good, how do you
Mhm.
get them better? And it was always a challenge. We figured out what to do. We'd go dribble up and down the stairs. We'd go up down, our third floor, and we would go and do taps against the wall in the corner, or we would do ball handling drills or whatever we had to do. Just a lot of you know just things you had to figure out
Yeah.
as a young guy. It was challenging. And one of the biggest challenges, I went from West Orange, or excuse me, from Immaculate to West Orange.
Mhm.
I said, wow, all these baskets, and how do I How do I utilize that?
Hmm.
And that took a little time too. But the biggest thing about working at Immaculate, both football wise and basketball wise, I also did some tennis over there, but is the lack of facilities. How do you make up for that?
Right.
And you learn, and it makes you a better coach. It makes you more determined. It certainly helps. It certainly helps, build character, and
Hmm.
and, uh, and you work harder in different facets of the game, and that's what it did for me. And that again, and beside being great people to work with, that was, lack of facilities. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You adjust.
Nah, and that you did here before even going further than that. Did you start teaching at the same time at Immaculate too?
I I was teaching, probably started in '85, probably in '87. I started teaching full time,
Okay.
and I didn't know. I knew I wanted to coach, and I wasn't quite sure about the teaching part. And of course, Mr. Dyer, being the master salesman that he is and was, so yeah, let's start going, and I did, and I realized that, teaching and coaching is the same thing. And there's um, yeah, it's just presenting information, and it's how you present it, and they were very similar, and I found it out. And the older you get with basketball and with any coaching, the older you get with teaching, the better you get, and the more you want to learn, the better you get.
Hmm.
And that's something that was a valuable lesson for me. Just, listen to other people, and you learn as you go along.
Yeah, especially with your Immaculate student, which is, I mean, you get from all different walks of life. Some folks that's just barely, making a month to month, to someone that might be a little well off, but you get them that they want to participate in sports or what have you. There, so sometimes that could be interesting because whereas other schools, more like public schools, they would just cut people. While I
Hmm.
was that never happened. So I know that was interesting dynamic having to, work some magic around that as well too.
The thing about Immaculate, you knew everybody who come out for the team. And a coach's most difficult thing in anybody's coaching career, they all tell you that, having to cut a player from a team, who wants to play, and you're keeping them from doing something that they love.
Mhm.
But you can't keep everybody. Now, that being said, at Immaculate, you knew everybody. So you try to figure out a way to keep kids, and you try to figure out a way to keep them on the team, and have them be, just kind of, positive contributors, so to speak. And that, because you knew them and you liked them, and I was from similar neighborhoods from a lot of kids, and I say, hey, this is, you come up here, you want to be able to participate and do something. And my whole thing was, as a teacher, was saying, hey, get involved, do something. Don't jump on the bus at 2:30 or 2:15 whenever we were done. Do something. And kids would do that. And you try to, hey, let's embrace that. Let's embrace the kids, and you try to make everybody feel part of the program.
Mhm. Nah, definitely. I mean, again, like I said, I totally could relate, and just being around everyone at Immaculate, it was the whole family thing that was presented to us, and we still sticks with us to this day here. I know even all right, so I mean, even with the coaching, you start coaching, you guys are winning, you're being successful here. Like, did you just develop your coaching style as you went? Because I know you started pretty early as far as coaching. You just figured things out as you went, and then some things you kept, some things you got rid of.
I will tell you this: it's always evolving. I was influenced by my father, obviously. I was influenced by my high school coaches. What things that I liked, things that I didn't like as a player.
Hmm.
My college coach, guy named Ted Zawacki, was a defensive-minded guy. So you take a little bit from everybody. Joe Lennon, who again was a guy who hired me first. I thought he, um, was influenced me in terms of managing people and things like that. And it's evolving. Even it's evolving all the time. I think I started coaching with, my high school coaches, guys who coached me,
Okay.
and they dealt with, kind of like with a heavy hand a little bit. That was the style. That was the 70s. That was the post of Vince Lombardi. And you were getting yelled at, you were getting hollered at, you were getting maybe punished with running and all that. And I kind of took that my first few years. And as I became older and I had some kids on my own, I said, do I want to treat my kids? Do I want them to be treated the same way? So it evolves, and times change. And I've got to the point now where I'm now where just I deal with people. That's one of my strengths, and I've learned that over the years. Am I heavy-handed? Am I yeller? No. You may be surprised. I might bark at you guys a little bit back then, but I rarely do now. And I think the old saying that you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar is kind of something that I've kind of grown to kind of adopt that, but you adjust as the years go by, and kids are different. There's more distractions, and so I am where I am now. And I still love doing,
Now you mentioned coaches. Where do you find a guy named Jim Snake Ryan from?
Well, where did I find him from? You know what? I had a lot of buddies who played rugby, and they said we'd go out in some social activities and we'd go meet these guys. And I met Snake Ryan, who also was employed at the Cedar Grove Inn, this an interesting place. And I
Oh, Pompton Avenue, right? Is that on one?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And I'd known him over the years, and he had played for Essex Catholic in 1974 or 5, and they were a top 2 or 3 team in the state. And they had guys who were just phenomenal. A guy named Ron Cowan and a guy named Anderson. I forget his other name, Cliff Anderson, but just one of the best teams in the state. And he was one of the few white guys on the team. It was easy to pick out, but he didn't play much. But he obviously was watching the game, so we got to talking. And over the years, and I'd gotten the job, and I said, you know what, I'm looking for a guy to come and coach. And I knew he was a character. Number one. Number two, he was passionate.
Yes.
And you love that about somebody. And the more I talked to him, he knew the game, and he was willing to learn. So hey, it was a 7-year relationship of just again, sometimes good cop, bad cop. But he knew the game, and he went down. He learned under Dean Smith. He went and observed, and again, he just a great addition defensively. His schemes and his just some of the drills and all that he brought to practice were phenomenal, and that was great stuff. So yeah, good guy, and I know he's still coaching, and just a good guy, a good addition to have to our staff.
Yeah, we actually, a couple of us, we went and saw him coach. I mean, you mentioned how now you're not much of Yeller, if at all. You'd be shocked to just see him not say a word. Like I was like, no way, this can't be him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, we got a chance. This is right before COVID hit. Actually, it got crazy. Jason and Jakeem and I, we went down and saw a game. Saw a game. But to your point, you mentioned good cop, bad cop. You were probably more the good cop. So because you had to be in school the next day after some things done happen, and see Mr. Dyer, Sister Maureen. I can only imagine. Yeah, like he owed you a few drinks.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what happens. He would get his guys out, and obviously you were at a couple points. We had a pretty good varsity team. You were playing JV, and you guys were good also. And he had you believing. You had you guys confident. We're going to beat the varsity team. And again, we have players. Lee Mullins, you got Reggie Lewis, you got Latish, and you have all these guys. Just real good ball players. And you guys come up, and if we would beat you, we have some Division I athletes, whatever. We're players. He would get out of practice, and as soon as it was done, we'd beat you and at the end of practice scrim and get in his car, run out real fast, and get in his car and bolt out of there because he was mad. He thought that you guys should have beaten the varsity team, and you like that competitiveness, and that made for a great practice. It made for good competition, and competition makes you better. It makes players better. It makes you guys want to beat up on the varsity, and playing against better players, it improves your game. So again, that's something else that was a positive, with us also.
Yeah, nah, definitely. But I know with anything, a run sometimes got to get changed, and life circumstances cause us to move around or what have you. I know you have your run at Immaculate, some successes. What was I think the conference? I can't recall the number. It was a winning streak you went on that you ain't lose. I can't remember the games though. How many games that was in a row, but I know it was a whole lot.
I think we went on about a 48 game winning streak for
Mm,
it was probably maybe 3 years. We won 48 games in a row in the league. Um, Again, we had some pretty good players, and it's all about having players too. Yeah, you can be a great coach, but you certainly have to have some players around, but we did well over those years, and even against just to keep doing that and keep going. I think we got beat by Cedar Grove by a great coach named Frank Giovanucci. Um,
mhm.
and his team, they beat us up there, and they kind of slowed the pace down, and we were trying to get up and down the floor, and we're running some 1-3-1, trying to quicken it up and press them, and they just held the ball and just very deliberate. And that might have been the first game we lost in a couple of years in the league.
Mhm.
But again, it's tough. Every game, people are looking to get you, and they're preparing, and it happens.
Yeah. And then you have some state, success even then too with some of those squads here, the Lances and Lees and all that as far as getting a little run even in the county. I know even when I was there, uh the one thorn in your side, the one year was the damn Seton Hall.
Yeah,
It was the Christmas tournament and it was the county. I don't know if it was the quarters or semis. It was one of them.
it might have been the quarter, but we did lost a real tough one to them in the Joe Silver tournament down in Hillside.
Hillside, yeah.
And again, overtime loss. Then we played them again down at Seton Hall, and it was a tie game. And I think Reggie Lewis was taking the ball. He was shooting a little bank shot. I think Keith Peresny might have bumped him and kind of fouled him, but unfortunately, they don't call foul on your own players. And we jumped into overtime, and they ended up getting beaten us. And it was just again, it was frustrating. And they were very good. That's a good program and a super team. Bobby Farrell coached them, and they had kids who can play. But thought we were there, but we
Hmm.
just never turned the corner. And they were frustrated. It was frustrating. In terms of state tournament and counties, and this, we end up playing St. Pat's. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we're playing St. Anthony's every year, or the St. Mary's Elizabeth, or St. Pat's Elizabeth, or teams that are ranked in the state yearly,
Yeah.
and just you try to get over the hump. But after the game, after the game, you're just like, boy, that was just a real tough year. But then you take a week or so off, and you say, wow, we had a really good year. You won. I think we had 4 years in a row. We won 21 games or 20 games or more,
Hmm.
and and uh, and we beat some pretty good teams. Never turned the corner in terms of a state or a county, but we won a lot of conference championships, and more importantly, we had super kids, and just had a lot of fun doing it. And again, that's what you remember. I couldn't take exact records, but just great kids and people that you dealt with over the years.
Nah, definitely. And I know even I think it was our year, because it dawned on me too. You mentioned coaching staff, whether it's Coach Ryan or obviously yourself here being the head of the ship here. You get recognized. I think he was Essex County Coach of the Year at my senior year, I believe. I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, but so you do, like I said, it does get noticed the work that you have put in or what have you. And I know I mentioned livelihoods change and pay scales got to get different because you have mouths to feed here. And I know Immaculate sometimes, obviously with every, can't pay as much as a public school even back then or what have you. But regardless of that, maybe even another coaching challenge probably came about, kind of whether it's the school piece, but also the coaching piece. You leave,
Yeah.
you go to West Orange. How hard was it to go?
Well, it was tough. I remember the first year that I left teaching wise. I think we coached your senior year, and I will say this: when one of my most memorable years was last year at Immaculate with you guys, and we had lost some good players over the years, and all of a sudden now I'm looking around the gym, and our biggest, you might have been our biggest guy, or Jakeem is probably our biggest guy at 6 foot or maybe 6'1". And we just had a super year. We had a tough run in the
Christmas
tournament down at
tournament.
Watchung Hills, and I think we might have lost 2 games, and we sat down and we just kind of, we had a conversation, or it might have been one-sided. It might have been me just talking, or
Yeah.
Coach Ryan talking, but we went on a run there. And you know what? We had just a phenomenal year, and it was the David against Goliath. We both play against Kevin Boyle's team at Montclair High School, played
Yeah.
St. Pat's, and we got Brian Mooney playing, who, again, he's a 5'10", forward almost. You got, Brent Andrews. We got, you got, you guys and Jakeem and Rodney, and it's just overachieving. And we had a shot at the end. We ended up missing the shot at the buzzer to tie it. But to me, that's a great success. And that was one of my favorite years, coaching wise, because we overachieved and you guys just, got the most out of your abilities. And then at that point, I decided to leave, and just, again, for financial reasons. It was tough, the little ones at home and all. But it was tough. It was tough. But you know what? Hey, there's another chapter, and everybody, you don't always stay in the same spot. Some people do, but it's time for another move. And going to West Orange again, it was something different for me. Public school, more kids, more cuts, more baskets, just in terms of all that. And it was a new challenge. And it was a new challenge for sure.
Because they're Group 4 back then. There was a big school.
It was a Group 4 school, and they had mixed success over the years, and it was a little bit of disarray in the program. So I kind of go in there, and of course, your first year you go in the program, and you have to kind of tighten the reins, and you have to run a tight ship, and you're getting rid of people at that point where, for your own program's good, maybe not for their good, but for your program's good, and you have to learn and build a little bit. Took us a couple of years. Again, it's an adjustment for me, but again, a good spot. I got very comfortable there. I also had some good kids there, some good players over the years, and again, it's you learn to adjust. You learn to adjust to your kids. You learn to adjust to the situation, and kind of what happened as we were going.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, it's kind of but you're still, and still in the educator role too. Like at Immaculate, you could probably see the freshmen through the varsity do that 6 to 7 hour period at school, because that school is just so small versus West Orange. You might only see a couple of kids. You might not see 3/4 of the team the rest of the day, just because of the school and the size of it. So I know that brought a different dynamic, because you kept eyes on, obviously, on your kids being physically there, but I'm sure being a bigger school played hampered that a little bit.
Yeah, you don't see kids, and again, I'm a special education teacher. I have a small population of students, and the school is, in terms of physically, just a big place, and you don't see your players. Whereas Immaculate, I'd go out, poke my head out the wall, and there's Ibn, let's get to class, you're late, or you and the kids would know you all. But here, you might get some bad news at the end of the day. This kid's messing up here, that kid's messing up there. So for me, the adjustment was how to communicate with teachers, how to communicate with deans or principals, and to keep an eye on some of your kids. And on occasion, they may slip through the cracks, but again, as the years go by, I got better at it, and you would adjust, and the expectations were there, and the expectations from the kids were, hey, your grades are up, you're this or that, you're respectful, and it took you a couple of years, but it gets there. And the success of your winning wins and losses, not always, but at least what your expectations of the behaviors of your kids are. And that's important.
No, definitely. How do you guys do during your time at West Orange? Was it kind of mid-level? Did you have,
Ooh, well, we won a conference. I spent 11 years there. Again, pretty good teams we're playing against. We're in the Northern Hills Conference for the first few years. good teams. Wayne Valleys, the West Milfords of the world were very good. Orange, of course, with Corey Corey Boyd.
Corey Boyd. Right.
Corey Boyd, and they had players. They my second year there, they were tournament champions. They won the tournament champions with Duval Simmons, and they were outstanding. So we took beatings there, and it seemed like for me, and what my coaching career was always big brothers there waiting. It's always Linden, or it's always St. Anthony's, it's always St. Patrick's, and here in our league it was either Orange or it was Linden, and we end up beating them a couple times. But you turn around, then there's East Side with Randy Foy, and you had Jamal Tate from Linden, and you have East Side and Kennedy from Patterson, and it was just always somebody. So again, we won a conference championship. We had a couple of kids go D1 play, and just again, it's just it's experiences. We had good kids. Turn the corner, no, but good experiences for the kids. I still see them. They're grown men now, and you know what? And they liked it, and I enjoyed it. So
yeah, I know you took some time off to watch your son play, and it just to kind of do the family thing for a little bit. How much fun was that just to watch him play?
Well, it wasn't any fun when I wasn't. I took 1 year off from coaching, and it wasn't any fun. I did a CYO 7th and 8th grade girls basketball, and it was you coach your daughter and all that. It was difficult to sit back, so I ended up coaching my son's team as an assistant. So I was coaching. I was volunteering through his career and a couple of years afterwards. But I did some AAU with his team too, with Keith Hines and Craig Brandon down for the Knights in Montclair, and good experiences for him to get out of Caldwell and go out and see, hey, this is the world. This is basketball. It's not just your little town. And that was a great experience, and for me also. But it was great to watch him. It was, we knocked heads at times, and I let the head coach handle him at certain times because it's a father-son normal, bang heads. But it worked out well, and he did well. He did well with football. He did well with basketball, and I love to watch him. My daughter played she's a 3-sport athlete: soccer, basketball, lacrosse. Great experience watching them play. And you know what? I would do it again. I know we missed a couple of years in between, but I would certainly do that again because it's a small window of opportunity for me.
Yeah, we don't get it. We don't get that time back. Yeah,
absolutely,
we don't get it back.
Absolutely not.
Now you end up getting a head coaching gig because we're currently at Caldwell, so that's where you started your next go around with head coaching.
Right, and I was volunteering for a little bit at West Orange, as much time as I could put in. Then I volunteered again at Caldwell, and the job came open. And again, I put the kids at Caldwell were great kids. It's always been a football, wrestling school.
Yeah.
But the kids that I dealt with, whether we were good or not, were just hardworking, good kids. And I decided to take it. And first, we had a couple tough years. We were 8-36 our first 2 years. But it wasn't a miserable experience again because the kids were super kids. Came to work hard every day, and it wasn't like you can't wait for the season to be over. It was okay. Let's go to the next game, and from there we started winning some games. We had Coach Finnegan, his son played for us up there. Up in Caldwell, and we went 13-12, and from there the kids start to like it, and all of a sudden now we got kids who want to play. We got kids who want to play, and we'll put the time in the off season. I'll go to the gym in the summertime. It won't be just me and 3 kids. We'll have 15, 18 kids every workout.
Yeah.
And will we ever be county champs? Probably not. But we're looking to win a conference. We moved up to the 3rd division in Essex County. For Caldwell, we're going against West Orange. We're going with Bloomfield and Milburn, Livingston, Belleville, and Group 4 schools. And for us, it's kind of a feather in the cap. But we're hoping that I have kids who don't want to. That's not going to be their ultimate goal. They want to, maybe take a step further than that. Maybe win a championship here and there.
Yeah, and even with those kids, or just as I wanted to ask about AAU, like, how's that been for you? I mean, again, I know, coach, you just shared that you did coach some AAU teams, but outside when you were like a head coach and just like this whole thing, remember when I played, it was North Grands and the Road Runners. Now my friend down the street got a team. I think my grandmother just had a team. You know, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's just like everybody. Like, how's it been? Like, even just trying to maintain your kids, or do you send them to somebody? I mean, how does all that work with what you do?
Well, number one, when I was a young guy, I was fortunate enough to play for Craig Brandon and Sandy Hunter in Montclair, and we played with kids from Montclair High School, and we played against Kelly Trapuka. We played against the Campisi brothers from Livingston. We played against great players, and it was a great chance for you, and it was a good opportunity for you to play, and you were lucky. As the years had gone by, and when you were playing, you played for the Rams, you played Roadrunners, you were very lucky. When my son was playing, it was difficult. He had to go try out, and there's 60, 70 kids. And now, and you had to go be good. You had to be a good player. Nowadays, everybody has a team. And it's suburban parents are very willing to have their kids go play for somebody, and somebody pay for them to play indoors. Nobody goes to a park, and it's just a little different world. Our kids, we recommend that they play. We have many kids who play multiple sports. There's a lot of soccer going on this summer. There's lacrosse going on in the summer. There's baseball going on, but we recommend that they play. And we have the most kids we've had playing in many years playing AAU basketball. We probably have about 6 kids in programs now. It's easier to get into, but nevertheless, they're playing, which is good for us. And again, there's no neighborhood parks anymore. Nobody goes to Sarville Park anymore. Nobody goes to just to Watsesking or Carteret or Brookside Park in Bloomfield, where you go and kind of earn your stripes. Now you go when you get a chance to play in the gym. You pay your money, you get to play. And that's kind of the way it is. And it's, the state of basketball a little bit.
Now, sounds like, some of that, is that some of that disappointing to you, or?
Well, it's disappointing in that nobody goes to parks and play anymore. But I will say this, and I sounded very negative on that. I shouldn't have. This is probably the most excited kids in Caldwell and in suburbia we have been in a long time. And I'm really excited about that. Kids are playing, and they are playing AAU. They're playing at some local parks, and they're getting out and playing more so. So yes, I'm not disappointed with that at all. I'm excited about where we are, Caldwell basketball, and kids want to play. Kids want to play college basketball, and they're looking for places to play all the time. I'm just saying that overall, the overall view, just go to parks and play. And outdoor courts are like almost a thing of the past, and that's just disappointing to me, because if I was, physically able enough, I would go to the, and get out of the house and go to the parks and play with some young guys if anybody would have me, and I would play and enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Changes and evolving here. Like, could you, again, you're not leaving Caldwell, no, not at all, but hypothetically, could you even see yourself coaching at a parochial school, Immaculate or whatever these days, just for how people go to 4 different schools in 4 years and all this other stuff? Could you see yourself in all of that?
Well, let me not badmouth anybody. I would be very happy going to a place that kids want to play basketball. I'd be happy to coach them. Okay. Now, you guys, I'm at the first day of practice. Here we are. We're ready to go. Love it. And do I like the fact that kids are going to kind of like the next best thing all the time? Is a little bit disappointing to me. They're going somewhere because this coach, number one, I'm not playing. This coach isn't doing the right thing, and they'll transfer to another school. Then they'll transfer to somewhere else.
Mhm.
That's a little disappointing to me. Would I be able to go and coach at them? Absolutely. Do I want to do all the peripheral stuff and play in the games of having to call parents and having to see if a kid can override the rule to get him to be eligible this year?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm at this point in my career. No, I mean, what I want to coach the kids who want to be, with our program, and I'll coach them as best I can, and I will love it. But I just don't want to do all the peripheral, owing anybody any favors. If that's
Yeah. Now I understand. Being an immaculate guy, and well, I'm not gonna box you in on this one, but I know some people, even with how good immaculate is done, don't like how it's getting done. Like me, I know some things you got to involve. I mean, I
right.
think you got to evolve. You get with the times, or you blown past away from the times. So, and again, like I said, I know some traditionalists, just especially, you know, hold immaculate dear to their heart. Feel different about that. But my thing is, you got to evolve.
You know what? Those are the rules of the game.
Right.
They're the rules of the game, and either you play by them or you kind of get pushed aside. Hey, George Steinbrenner, and I know you're a Yankee fan. George Steinbrenner, he didn't make the rules, but he certainly pushed the limits, and he paid Reggie, he paid Winfield, he paid all these guys to come and play for the Yankees. He didn't make the rules, but he was going by, and he was just going to the parameters of them. And again, I agree with you to an extent. Um, Either you want to go and you play the game and you survive, or you can just say, hey, we're gonna you know again, you hire a guy like me and say, I don't want to go out and recruit with 1,000 guys. You're going to go by the wayside. You're not going to be a top 10 program in the state, and it's that's just the way it is. That's the game people play. It's AAU basketball. It's recruiting, and it's you have the players. You're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, because while a proud feel good moment though they got blown out the gym was I actually went and obviously not too far from Springfield when they was at the Hoop Hall and they played the team from Nevada, Finley, I want to say, with
Oh, okay.
Bol Bol's team. I mean, they ran them out the gym, but it was just cool to see folks from 33 College Place up at the playing at the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
So that was pretty cool.
We were down when they played Roselle Catholic, um, 2 years ago with Nas Reed, or maybe 3 years ago with Nas Reed, and they were Roselle Catholic was unbelievable. We're thrilled that Immaculate got there. You know who was there? Me and four of my teammates from our state championship year. Um,
Yeah.
Guys who were older than me, who I remember seeing them playing, guys younger than me, and we were all there, very proud. They got roughed up also.
Hmm.
However, hey, we're still proud of the fact that they're doing well, and
Definitely.
that's it's something that you kind of hard to breathe out of you.
Yes. No, definitely. Now with sports coaching, playing, just being around it, pretty much probably since you could walk here, like what is it giving you that's stuck with you to this day?
You know what? It's given me, number one. It gives you a bit of a work ethic.
Hmm.
It gives you enjoyment. It's something, if you like it, you do it, and if you're doing something that you like, you're blessed. If you're doing something and if I can do something and make a little money on it, not a lot, but it's doing something I enjoy. Yes, I love it. It also taught me that I like to work with people.
Hmm.
It taught me that coaching and teaching are very similar. It got me into a teaching position, which I've been doing for probably 35 years now, that I love doing. It gave me that. It gave me relationships with people, such as yourself and players we've had over the years,
Hmm.
coaches that I've coached with, relationships, acquaintances, people that you see all the time, and you have stories to share, and you have things in common. It allowed me to share that with my children. My son led to a career. He's teaching, he's coaching. My daughter's in education
Hmm.
as a speech therapist. What kind of sent me in that direction. And again, my father, who who went to ninth grade during the Depression. He had to go work, but I think that would have been something, that he may have done. He kind of passed it down to me unknowingly, and it's kind of I feel blessed. I love what I'm doing. I'm not a millionaire, but I certainly am not starving, and I like the fact that you're calling me. Hey, how you doing, Coach? How we doing? Or you can come to watch my son's game a couple of years ago, or I see people along the way. I loved it, and it was something that's worthwhile for sure.
No, definitely. Oh, I appreciate the time here, but can I get a few more minutes of your time and we can call it a wrap? Can I get a few more
Absolutely,
minutes?
whatever you want to do, Eb.
All right, cool. Yeah, this year I just like to put people on the spot with some questions or just some wordplay here. So just have some fun a little bit. So when driving, you prefer the turnpike or the parkway?
I'm a Parkway guy.
All right. Jimmy Buff's or Star Tavern?
More exits. Jimmy Buff's Star Tavern? Star
Yes.
Tavern. I can get a cold beer there.
Okay. Now here's one for you. Actually, a question for him. With Fess is the tavern, the family business there. Would it be a sitcom, a reality show, or some type of movie here?
Oh, that's a sitcom with characters galore. We have characters. We'll have to sit and turn the camera off one time with Coach Finnegan and Coach Mal, and they're part of the characters, and Mr. Dyer, of course, but
Yes.
just characters up and down. I learned a lot of history, West Orange history. I learned history from just from everybody, from characters. That's a sitcom.
I hear the jukebox is pretty infamous over there.
Well, I thought so. I was kind of controlled a lot of it, so I think my musical history. I go back.
Okay.
I go back. I kind of draw the line here with I'm kind of dying around KRS-One and all that stuff. I started fading with all you guys. Okay. But Ben Sermis told me about Run DMC. That was his thing.
Absolutely. That's not good job, Ben. Now, so use the jukebox DJ, huh?
Well, I was, yeah. I would have loved that was my second career. If I wanted to do something else besides teaching and coaching, I would love to have been a DJ, except I talk too fast.
Yeah. Another place that's probably crazy stories. I don't know what this would be, but life in that field house. I'm sure I can only imagine.
Ooh, I don't know who's listening to this, but yeah, you know what? It was a great place, and again, from my freshman year in high school, that would be 1974 through. I was there probably till 91. That's a good 17 years or so. A lot of stories, characters coming in and out. Yeah. Not just the kids, but coaches and stories and just the social activities. One of the glories of being in a Catholic school, you just, you can have people on the staff you want to come and hang out and whatever it is. Great place and memories galore.
Mm-hmm. Football, basketball.
Well, if I'm going to play it for fun right now, I'm a basketball guy, and I'm a basketball guy. But they're football, yeah, basketball, because I can play it a little bit longer. I stopped playing football and when I was 18. Basketball, I stopped playing when I was 57 years old, so I guess a little longer.
Wasesson or Sarvel?
Oh man, Sarvel Park. Sarvel Park was the greatest place in the world, and it got a little hairy later on. We're scrapping a little bit here and there, but there's nothing better than Sarvel Park.
Speaking of scrapping, and I'm totally digressing, our tie, 1991 or 2, fans come out of the stands. You ever see something like that then, before, or since?
When we were at Arts High School, no, I tell that story still. And luckily, we had the locker room behind the benches. Yeah. And we were able to kind of get away in there. And I know Jakeem was I don't know if it was some girl or whatever.
Yeah, lover boy. Yeah.
That's and next time I see him, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I'm gonna say you almost lost my life or lost some teeth because of that. But that was something.
the clock literally went to 0 and the stands took off towards us.
Yeah. Yes,
Woo!
yes. And you know what?
Yeah.
Over the years, at Immaculate, fortunately, I had probably not many of them, but one a football game at Whippany Park with a guy named Tyrone Mason, who was one of the best football players I ever coached.
Mhm.
But that team, and then when I was in high school, we had in St. Cecilia's Englewood, the fans emptied, and my brother was throwing punches all over the gym. So it was just, there was only 3 of them that I remember. So that was, we're
Nah,
lucky.
nah,
Knock on
nah,
wood, Ed.
nah, definitely. Um, Best game you ever played in your life on any level?
Oh boy.
It's
Um,
one if it's one that sticks out.
I tell you what, it was a football game that I just, as an offensive lineman, for me, you'd get your scores. You didn't get the ball much, um, and what you got was a grade, and I graded out at 97 once on an offensive line, and I don't know what was there, 65 plays maybe. So that's a pretty good day for me. Best game I played, best game I was involved in. Probably was a Pope John football game where we won a state championship.
Mhm.
Just in terms of pure excitement and all of that. But yeah, those are the 2 I can throw out.
Yeah. As a coach, what's the best game you ever coached? Like, you know what? I nailed it this one. I nailed this one.
Oh boy, there was a couple. 2 games and both against Linden.
Okay.
One at Immaculate. We went down to the Joe Silver tournament, and um, they were ranked, I think, 12th in the state. And we decided we had some pretty good athletes. We decided to slow the ball down, and my nephew Dave Cohn was playing the point. And again, we had Kobe Sanders
Mhm.
playing, and they were our guards, and we just kind of held the ball, and we ended up, beating them 32-28, and that was one of them. A few years later, we ended up playing at West Orange. We played against Linden again, and Linden was ranked 14th in the state. And we had a similar strategy, and they probably said, "Here we go again." We did the same thing, and we beat Linden both times. So those were probably the 2 of the best basketball wins that we've had.
Yeah, because that one that I was a freshman, that one you were talking about, that was yeah, I know that was a young Wally and those Tariq Saunders and
Yep.
those guys. Yeah,
Oh my goodness! All right, they could play. They could
yeah,
play. They were
yeah.
good.
Is it a game that sticks out that you will want back that you if you can get it back
Oh, as a coach,
as a
oh
coach?
my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's so many of them. I
Okay.
tell kids on my team now that I dwell more on losses than I do on wins. I'll tell you one. I was in high school, Lady of the Valley. I missed a jump shot at the top of the key. We lost
Yeah.
51-50. They were the county champs, and we beat them. We got beat. Um, Seton Hall. We missed a shot at the buzzer.
Hmm.
Reggie Lewis. We were playing at West Orange. We were playing against Troy Murphy and Del Barton. We ran a little screen to screener, and the kid took a little back screen, had a layup underneath our own basket. Ball rolled around, and he missed that. And we go to overtime. Troy Murphy 10, West Orange nothing. So um, I could name a lot of losses, but those are a few of them that stick out.
Yeah. Now, see if you give me this one here. Your all-time Coach Fess starting 5. At
Oh
all.
man, you want immaculate? You want everybody?
If you can, your starting 5 as far as what, that you coach. Was it West
Oh man,
Orange, Caldwell, or Immaculate? If it's all
you're
Immaculate,
putting me on the spot.
who'll be
In
your point?
terms
Who'll be your point guard?
of being my point guard. Um, oh man, I hope none of these guys are listening to me because
That's the
they're gonna.
fun of it. They know that. This the
Yeah.
fun of it.
Who do I got? I got a kid named John Dillon. Was very good, West Orange kid, a little wise ass left-hander from the valley.
Okay.
From Orange. He was good. Shooting guard. I had a kid from well, you know what? I got to go with our immaculate guy. Lee Mullen is a 2 guard. He could certainly play. Went down to Coastal Carolina, played, and ended up going to Montclair State and doing real well.
Mm.
Had a kid named Ezzy Andrews. from West Orange. He was 6'7". He played for Cassie Russell down at Savannah College of Art and Design. He was 6'7", but he handled the ball, shoot threes. He gets down the lane. He would be all forward. My goodness gracious, here. My center, the all-time character team, Kamel Drummond.
Okay.
His brother played Bloomfield Tech, but this kid we had he was built like Jeremy Shockey, and he would carry guys on his shoulder. He would be a center. Looking forward. Holy cow. How about Reggie Lewis, one of the best defensive players I've ever coached, and another Orange guy from the Valley. Yeah. I like the Valley guys, I guess. But so many. We had the all-character team, the all overachiever team. We had, Ibn Webb, who had 72 three-pointers as a senior.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that was before everybody was launching them. So we might have opened the door, Ibn, because we just said, this guy comes down and he's got his both feet set in cement, but he's going to go in the jump shot. But he's going to come and put them up. And that was, the all overachieving team. You guys, and a year I had at West Orange, a kid named Ryan McPherson and Joe Fucci and kids like that was very similar. So,
yeah, we didn't lose the conference game that year, I know. And then, and like you said, that's right before St. Pat's got going. So around that time, that starting line, front five the starting front line had to be, I think they were like 6'6", 6'7", and that's when Mr. Boyle got going.
I have the film for. I'm going to make that for you someday. I'm going to send it your way.
You actually have?
I do. I have a couple. They've kind of disappeared over the years. Well, I'm gonna get that. Go to Costco or one of those online things, and I'm going to make a film and send it out to you guys.
That's cool here. Who's the best player you ever coached?
Oh man. That's tough. Potentially, probably the best player who eventually can play with Ezzy Andrews. He's got a 6'7" kid who could get out and handle the ball. He's first team all county. Kamel Drummond was very good. Of course, Lee Mullins could play. But that's like asking who's your favorite kid.
Yeah. But
sometimes you didn't say who's the best, but that's not easy. But just but yeah, that's I have a lot of choices over the years, Yeah.
Now I know just in general, whether it was from your time playing or coaching, who's like the best high school basketball player you've seen?
Without a doubt, Kelly Tripucka.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. We were at the summer league. Every year we go to play Bloomfield Summer League, and then played this summer, ended up winning this year, which was a good thing for Caldwell. But every year I tell the kids always, come over here, look at this jersey. That's Kelly Tripucka's jersey. He's kind of a character, and he's kind of he's a piece of work, but he could play. He was just the best player that I had seen in high school. He was phenomenal. And I'll go with that. I've seen a lot of them over the years. I was a huge fan. I still go to games, but man, he could play, that guy.
Yeah, I just hear stories about him. They just say he was for real. He was for real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of my family. Obviously, I got good kids. Despite all the foolishness, me yelling at them or being around or not being around, whatever. They're good kids, and my wife who was spend most of the time with them. Just proud of them. People who meet them, they say they're nice, nice young men and nice young man or woman. And as my father always said, his best achievement was his kids, and I kind of have to go with that.
Yeah. What's the best part about being Mike Fess?
Oh man, that's just knowing all the people that I've known over the years, knowing just acquaintances and friends, and rich in stories, and rich in experiences, and rich in just people that I've known, and that for me is something that you can take with you forever.
Yeah. And I got to sneak this one. Is kind of going back to the sports before I double back. Just with Immaculate, your Mount Rushmore immaculate athletes? Who's your four best to ever walk those hallways, no
Well,
matter what sports?
oh man, I got to tell you, who I saw. I won't say my brother because he just shot all the time, and he was obviously pretty good. But Marcus Hackett was. I got the opportunity to play with him and watch him play. He was 6'1", but he played like he's 6'5", and he played as fast as a guard, and he was super athlete. Um, Lou Rasiope, I didn't watch him play as much, but Lou Rasiope was a great football player, all-state baseball player. Couldn't shoot a basketball, couldn't do anything. But I'll tell you what, in terms of those sports, he was outstanding. Oh my goodness. The guys that I thought Latish Kinsler was a great player. He only spent 2 years at Immaculate. Probably could have done more.
Yeah,
The
he's one of
newer
my
guys,
favorites.
yeah, a guy like Omar Cheeseborough was an athlete.
Yeah.
I thought Gil Ross was a super athlete. I gave you 5 there.
Yeah.
There's some of the newer guys, but the old timers, I thought Rasiope was good. I thought Marcus was super. Um, they say a guy named Frankie Desmond was very good, and they say I haven't seen that. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it. Just going by what I hear. But the guys I saw, a couple of guys that I coached, yeah, they were super. Ronnie Simpson was a super athlete. Ronnie Simpson scored 2,000 points without a 3-point line in high school. He was a wide receiver, tight end, defensive end, just a super player.
Mhm.
So I went over my limit of 4, but
It's too many, and I always joke.
yeah,
My joke be when I do run into somebody from Macklin, they bring that up. You actually said 2 of them. I was just like Lou Rasiope, Marcus Hackett. Then I said Rich Kana, and then
Rich
I
Kanoff.
said the fourth. I just rotate the fourth one.
Yeah,
That's kind of how
yeah,
I.
absolutely. And I forgot about Rich Kanoff. Rich Kanoff was actually a basketball player freshman year.
Yeah.
We were sorry to lose him. He would have been a super point guard.
Hmm.
He was just a real good guard, and he just, of course, he had bigger things to do. But about that, it was a good
Yeah.
group. Lance
It,
Boston was a
Lance
super
too.
athlete.
Those
Lance was
guys,
yeah,
Fred, all those guys. Yeah.
all these guys. So and my biggest just overachiever, one of them was Miles Holt. Miles Holt was a
And
6 foot forward, power forward, wide receiver. Got a scholarship to Holy Cross, and I just met a guy this weekend. I was up your way, at Rensselaer Field, watching Holy Cross
UConn.
and UConn. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's one of those years. But Miles Holt was just an overachiever who played 3 sports and just worked hard and got most of that as ability than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I definitely remember that name. Now, would your championship football team beat the '94 team? I know you. I know that's been talked about. Who's the best football team ever in that school? But I know
Well,
this.
I don't know about that, but we were pretty good. 94 teams. I was actually on the staff. I actually went back and I did the scouting for them,
Okay.
and I set up, and they had super duper athletes.
Yeah.
We were a little nastier, and we were more like fundamental stuff.
Hmm.
But the 75 team, where Larry Doby was a tailback at 6'3". Paul
Mm.
Modestino was a 220-pound fullback.
Ah.
They were good. They the guys who beat the Barringer and Andre Tippett. They were good too.
Hmm.
We went on a run, but they were good. That being said, who's going to guard Gil Ross? Who's going to block Troy Austin? Who's going to, Philip Hunt was playing, and all these guys. They were just outstanding players too.
Yeah.
So
Nah. Nah.
I'm gonna.
Definitely.
But hey, you're gonna put my back to the wall. Yeah, we're gonna kick their ass. Bring them on. Let's go. We want to replay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know. What advice would you give a 17, 18-year-old high school senior Mike Fess yourself? What advice would you give him? This Mike Fess.
Oh yeah, you know what? Um, try new things. Think beyond the weekend. Think beyond um, the year or two. Think about what you're going to be doing when 22, because it comes real fast. And don't be afraid to try something new. Too many kids myself included as a young guy, thinking about the weekend, about a basketball game, about that, and get some goals, and you can still enjoy everything else, but get yourself some goals and shoot long term, and
Mhm.
and again, try something out. If you don't like it, you always try something else, and that's and that's what my a kid in school now. Don't be afraid to go beyond your comfort zone too.
Yeah. And my last one here. Well, better athlete, Mike Fess the father or Mike Fess the son?
Oh, my son is a better athlete than me. No question. He could run. He's 100. He played college football about 160 pounds, but he could run like the wind.
Hmm.
They call him. They used to call him the fastest white guy in Essex County.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I could, number one, I could shoot the ball better,
Hmm.
and I was probably nastier and dirtier than him, and because I was the lineman and all that. But he's the athlete in the family for sure.
Yeah. Nah, Coach Fess, like, uh, thank you. And like I said, I mean, you took a chance on this knucklehead, playing. Like, let me just throw him in the Bloomfield basketball summer league and see what happens. And somehow I ended up, obviously, you continue to stay at Immaculate, but long with you and Coach Fest, the headaches I gave y'all growing up as well, some of the stuff that I pulled off and somehow made it through, and I know all the headaches I gave you with my shot selections at times, but I say all that to say just thank you, because again, truly, like, as far as being an immaculate person here, we know how to improv. You talk about the two hoops. I mean, but just everything, like a lot of things I done picked up from you guys. You've always been a straight shooter with me and everybody else here, and I take this to this day in my life here. Like I said, I never thought I'll go to Immaculate, and obviously, there was some success, but I think I'm more about the knucklehead times where, you guys never gave up on me, or told, or actually went with Sister Maureen's plan to kick me out of there instead of talking her out of it. So I just wanted to say thanks for everything. Like I said, you guys mean a lot, and particularly you, Coach Fest. Again, like I said, I appreciate all you've done for me, and obviously even communicating with you up until this day.
Well, Ibn, thank you very much. And again, that's why we get into the business, because you got, a guy like you come to our school and we say, what a good guy. And of course, we all make mistakes. We stumble as we go along. We just, pick ourselves up, or somebody else will help pick you up. And that's why I got into the business. And you're doing the same thing yourself nowadays. And I appreciate, how much you've done, for younger people, the same thing. So, pat yourself on the back a little bit too.
I appreciate it. So hopefully, I mean, we could talk soon. I mentioned, I told Coach Joe I'm gonna bring my butt down and actually not say hi and bye, and actually stay a few days in Jersey here, and maybe, like I said, try to catch up with you guys, bite the eat, and some laughs.
Yeah, my son is living up in Simsbury outside Hartford, so I'm gonna go pass through there.
Oh,
And
he's right in there. Yeah, he's on the 20
so
minutes.
I'm gonna get him, and you and I and him. He's coaching at West Catholic in West Hartford.
Oh, Northwest Catholic.
Northwest Catholic.
Northwest
So
Catholic.
he's over there. So
That's another immaculate.
yeah, well, he
Yeah.
can't help it. But we're gonna get together up that way, and we'll compare some notes and all that. So
Yeah, definitely a good school. But yeah, Simsbury, again, I was contemplating moving out there at one time. So
good
so
spot.
I'm
A lot of bears though. Watch out.
yeah. So definitely just say the word, and we'll make it happen.
All right. Hey, great to talk to you again.
Likewise, Coach Fest. Take care.
All right. Take
All
care.
right. All right. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Like I said, things I didn't even know about my coach here. Like I said, Immaculate guys here. Like I said, it's just a unique place, and obviously brings out a lot of great individuals here. And like I said, the camaraderie lasts years upon years later here. So that said, though, till next time, I put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.